A single walk-in freezer must hold 40,000 pounds of food. This is the first rule of survival for the cooks on board. They work on a deep-water oil rig in the North Sea. These men and women are responsible for the fuel of the human machine. They feed 200 workers around the clock. The crew works 12-hour shifts. They need thousands of calories to stay safe and alert. A tired worker is a danger. A hungry worker is a liability. The cooks are the first line of defense against both. Their kitchen is called the galley. It is a small space of stainless steel and constant motion. The rig itself is an engineered island. It stands on legs of steel far from any shore. Helicopters and supply boats are the only links to land. Bad weather can cut these links for weeks. A storm can rage for days. When that happens, the rig is truly alone. The people on board must rely on what they have, and the cooks must make it last. They plan menus months in advance. They order pallets of frozen meat, vegetables, and bread. They manage vast storerooms packed with canned goods and dry pasta. There is no room for error. Running out of a key ingredient is not an option. A simple mistake in inventory could mean a serious drop in morale. Morale is a critical resource out here. It keeps people focused. It keeps them safe. The cooks know this better than anyone. They are not just feeding bodies. They are feeding spirits in a place of steel, water, and wind. The pressure is immense. Every meal must be on time. Every meal must be hot. Every meal must be good. A bad meal can ruin a worker's day. A succession of bad meals can sour the mood of the entire rig. The cooks feel this weight with every potato they peel. They feel it with every steak they grill. Their work is not just a job. It is an essential service. It underpins the entire multi-billion-dollar operation. Without them, the drills would stop. The pipes would run dry. The entire structure would fail. This is the reality of their work. It starts with a single freezer. It ends with the safety and survival of 200 people. The cooks must get it right. They must get it right 3 or 4 times a day. They do this for 28 days straight. Then they fly home and another crew takes their place. The freezer remains full. The work continues. The rig never sleeps, and its crew must always be fed. The structure is a semi-submersible drilling rig. It floats on huge pontoons deep below the waves. This design gives it stability in rough seas. It is anchored to the seabed over 2 miles down. The rig is not a ship. It does not move on its own power. Tugboats pull it from one drilling location to the next. The journey can take weeks. The rig itself feels like a small, crowded city. It is a dense network of pipes, cranes, and steel decks. The derrick rises from the center. It is the tall tower that handles the drilling pipe. This structure is over 200 feet high. The rig's total area is only a few acres, yet it houses a power plant, a water treatment facility, and a small hospital. It has workshops, storage areas, and a helicopter deck. 200 people live and work in this compact space. They come from dozens of countries. They speak many different languages. English is the common language of work and safety. The rig is located 150 miles from the nearest coastline. This is a journey of 90 minutes by helicopter. The weather must be good enough to fly. In the North Sea, that is never a guarantee. Fog can ground flights for days. High winds can make landings impossible. Supply boats are larger and can handle rougher seas. but even they must wait for a safe window to approach the rig. A boat might arrive and have to wait for 3 days before it can unload. This isolation shapes every part of life. It dictates supply chains. It influences safety procedures. It affects the mental state of everyone on board. The primary job of the rig is to drill for oil and gas. This work happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The drill bit, spinning miles below the ocean floor, never stops. The crew works in 2 shifts, a day shift and a night shift. Each shift is 12 hours long. The transition between shifts is called a handover. This is a critical time. Information about the job must be passed accurately from one crew to the next. A small miscommunication can lead to a major incident. The sound of the work is constant. The hum of generators, the clang of steel pipe, the roar of the engines driving the drill. There is no true silence on an oil rig. Even in the living quarters, the noise is always there. It becomes a part of the background of your life. The environment is harsh. The air is filled with salt spray. The wind can be strong enough to knock a person over. Temperatures can drop below freezing. Workers on the drill floor are exposed to these elements. They wear heavy protective gear. They work with powerful, dangerous machinery. Every task requires focus. Every movement must be precise. The rig is a place of immense power and immense risk. It pulls energy from deep within the earth, and it demands constant respect from the people who work there. It is a world unto itself, a world built to function far from everything else. The crew is a layered organization. Each person has a clear role. They know who they report to. They understand their specific duties. This structure is vital for safety and efficiency. At the top is the Offshore Installation Manager, or OIM. The OIM is the captain of the rig. They have the final authority on all operations. Their responsibility is absolute. Below the OIM are department heads. The drilling superintendent manages the drilling operations. The maintenance supervisor is in charge of all machinery. The barge master controls the rig's stability and position. These leaders have years of experience. They have worked their way up through the ranks. They understand the risks of the job firsthand. The drilling crew works on the drill floor. This is the heart of the operation. The driller operates the main controls. They are highly skilled and well paid. Assisting them are the roughnecks. This is a tough, physical job. They handle heavy sections of drill pipe. They work in all weather conditions. The risk of injury is high on the drill floor. Pay reflects this risk. A roughneck earns a good salary, but they earn it through hard, dangerous labor. Other roles are less visible, but just as crucial. Mechanics and electricians keep the rig's systems running. A problem with a generator can shut down the entire operation. Medics provide medical care. They are trained for emergencies. They can stabilize a patient until a helicopter can arrive. Welders, painters, and scaffolders maintain the structure of the rig. The saltwater environment is corrosive. Steel must be constantly inspected and repaired. Then there is the catering crew. They are the focus of our story. This team is led by the head cook or camp boss. They manage the galley, the stores, and the cleaning of the living quarters. The head cook plans the menus. They manage the budget. They ensure all hygiene standards are met. Working under them are the cooks and bakers. They prepare the 4 meals served each day. They work in shifts, just like the drill crew. A night baker works while most of the rig sleeps. They bake fresh bread and pastries for the morning. Galley hands assist the cooks. They wash dishes. They clean the floors. They help prepare vegetables. It is hard work in a hot, busy environment. The pay for catering staff is typically lower than for the drilling crew. The physical risk is not as high, but the responsibility is enormous. They are in charge of health, safety, and morale. A food poisoning outbreak would be a disaster. It could incapacitate dozens of workers at once. For this reason, training is intense. Cooks must have certifications in food safety and hygiene. They learn how to manage large-scale food production. They learn how to work safely in a small, crowded kitchen. The rotation schedule for most crew is 28 days on, 28 days off. For 4 weeks, the rig is their entire world. Then they go home for 4 weeks of rest. This cycle dominates their lives. It can be hard on family life, but it is a part of the job they accept. Everyone on the rig, from the OIM to the newest galley hand, is a trained professional. They are there to do a specific, demanding job in a challenging place. Life on a rig is a cycle of work, eat, and sleep. The quality of rest is a serious safety issue. A tired worker makes mistakes. In this environment, mistakes can be fatal. The living quarters are designed for efficiency, not luxury. They are functional spaces built to house the crew. Most workers share a cabin. Cabins are small. They usually contain 2 beds, a small desk, and a locker for each person. A small bathroom with a shower is often shared between 2 cabins. Privacy is limited. You are always close to other people. Space is the most valuable commodity on the rig. Every inch is used for something. The beds are often hot-racked or hot-bunked. This means 2 people on opposite shifts share the same bed. When the day shift worker comes into sleep, the night shift worker gets up. The bed, or rack, is never empty for long. It never gets cold. This system allows the rig to house more people in a limited space. It is a necessary compromise, but it can be difficult. You must be quiet and respectful of your roommate's sleep schedule. The constant noise of the rig is a major challenge for sleep. Even with earplugs, the low-frequency hum of the generators penetrates everything. The walls are thin. You can hear people moving in the hallway. You can hear the alarms that signal the start and end of shifts. Experienced workers learn to sleep through it. New workers often struggle for the first week. The rig operates 24/7. This means there is always activity. People are always coming and going. The lights in the corridors are always on. The body's natural sleep cycle can be disrupted. This is especially true for the night shift crew. They must sleep during the day. Their cabin windows are blacked out, but the sense of daylight is hard to escape. Fatigue is monitored closely. The company has strict rules about work hours. A 12-hour shift is long and demanding. Working longer than that is not allowed except in an emergency. The time between shifts is for rest. Management encourages workers to sleep. They know that a well-rested crew is a safe crew. Water is another precious resource. The rig makes its own fresh water. It uses a desalination plant. This process uses reverse osmosis to remove salt from seawater. It is an energy-intensive process. Water conservation is a part of daily life. Showers are expected to be short. Notices in the bathrooms remind everyone to use water wisely. The quality of sleep directly impacts performance. A cook who is tired might misread a recipe. They might not notice if a refrigerator is at the wrong temperature. A mechanic who is fatigued might not tighten a bolt correctly. These small errors can have huge consequences. So, while the cabins are not fancy, they are a critical part of the Rig-S safety system. A quiet, dark place to sleep is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The galley is the social heart of the rig. It is more than just a place to eat. It is where the crew comes together. It is a space to relax and talk. Morale is made or broken in this room. The cooks are the keepers of that morale. Their job is to provide good, plentiful food 4 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a midnight meal for the night shift. The food is free for the crew. It is part of their compensation package. The company knows that a well-fed crew is a happy and productive crew. The logistics of feeding 200 people are staggering. It all starts with planning. The head cook plans menus for an entire 28-day rotation. They must consider variety. Eating the same thing every week would be demoralizing. They also have to think about nutrition. The food must provide enough energy for hard physical labor. A steady supply of calories is essential. The smell of baking bread often fills the hallways in the early morning. It is a comforting scent in a world of steel. A supply boat arrives roughly once a week, weather permitting. It brings fresh produce like lettuce, tomatoes, and fruit. But these items do not last long. The cooks must use them within the first few days. For the rest of the rotation, they rely on their deep reserves. The rig has huge walk-in freezers and refrigerators. They are packed with boxes of frozen meat, fish, and vegetables. There are thousands of pounds of chicken, beef, and pork. There are pallets of frozen peas, corn, and carrots. The dry storage rooms are just as impressive. They are lined with shelves from floor to ceiling. These shelves hold giant bags of rice, flour, and sugar. There are endless cans of beans, tomatoes, and soup. Every item is inventoried. The head cook knows exactly what they have and where it is. Running out of a staple like coffee or salt is considered a major failure. The cooks work hard to make the food interesting. They might have a theme night. A curry night is often popular, or a steak night on a Saturday. This simple act breaks the monotony. It gives the crew something to look forward to. The sizzle of steaks on the grill is a welcome sound. These small rituals are important. On someone else's birthday, the baker will make a cake. The crew will gather in the galley to sing. These moments of community are vital. They remind everyone that they are part of a team. The galley itself is kept spotlessly clean. Hygiene is a top priority. All surfaces are stainless steel. They are scrubbed down after every meal service. A foodborne illness would be devastating on a closed environment like a rig. The cooks are professionals. They take this responsibility very seriously. They provide not just fuel, but comfort. A good meal at the end of a long, cold shift is a powerful thing. It can wash away the stress of the day. It prepares the worker for a good night's rest. The food is a connection to home. A familiar dish can be a source of great comfort so far from land. The cooks understand this power. They wield it with skill and care. The oil rig is a self-contained industrial complex. At its core are the engineering systems that keep it alive. These systems provide power, water, and stability. Without them, nothing else could function. The main power plant is the Rig-S heart. It usually consists of several large diesel generators. These are not like the generators for a home. They are the size of small trucks. They burn thousands of gallons of diesel fuel every day. The generators produce megawatts of electricity. This power runs everything. It runs the massive motors for the drill. It powers the cranes. It keeps the lights on and the freezers cold in the galley. There is always a backup generator. Redundancy is a key principle of rig design. If one generator fails, another starts up automatically. A total loss of power, a blackout, is a major emergency. The desalination system is the Rig-S lifeline. It provides all the fresh water for drinking, cooking, and showering. Most modern rigs use a process called reverse osmosis. Seawater is pumped at high pressure through a series of special membranes. These membranes block the salt molecules. They allow the fresh water molecules to pass through. The system can produce thousands of gallons of fresh water per day. The water quality is tested constantly. It must be safe to drink. This system is what allows people to live on the rig for months at a time. Stability and positioning systems are also critical. For a semi-submersible rig, this means managing ballast. The rig floats on huge pontoons submerged beneath the water. These pontoons contain large tanks. Seawater can be pumped into or out of these tanks. This is called ballasting and deballasting. The barge master uses this system to keep the rig perfectly level. It also adjusts the Rig-S height in the water. In heavy seas, the rig must remain stable. The rig is held in position by a complex anchoring system. Massive anchors are connected to the rig by thick steel cables or chains. These lines are controlled by powerful winches. A computer system constantly monitors the tension on each line. It makes small adjustments to keep the rig directly over the wellhead on the seabed. This is called dynamic positioning for some vessels. For anchored rigs, the system ensures it does not drift. The drilling systems are the reason the rig exists. The derrick supports the equipment that lowers the drill pipe. The drill string is made of many 30-foot sections of pipe screwed together. It can be miles long. At the bottom is the drill bit. A special fluid, called drilling mud, is pumped down the pipe. It cools the bit and carries the rock cuttings back to the surface. All these systems are interconnected. The power plant runs the pumps for the drilling mud. The stability system keeps the derrick aligned with the well. The galley relies on the power for its freezers and the water from the desalination plant. The entire rig is one complex machine. Every part depends on every other part. The engineers and mechanics who maintain these systems are essential. They work in loud, hot engine rooms. They are on call 24/7. A single failed pump or a broken valve can have cascading effects. They are the guardians of the Rig-S mechanical soul. Their work ensures the lights stay on, the water stays fresh, and the drill keeps turning. Living in a small, isolated community for weeks at a time creates unique mental pressures. The job is demanding. The environment is unnatural. Coping with the mental strain is as important as physical safety. The first challenge is isolation. Workers are hundreds of miles from their families. Contact is limited to phone calls and slow internet connections. Missing important family events is a common sacrifice. A child, a birthday, a school play, a holiday celebration. These moments are missed. This can create feelings of guilt and loneliness. The routine of rig life can also be a strain. It is monotonous. 12 hours of work, a few hours of free time, 8 hours of sleep, then repeat for 28 days. The days blend into one another. There is no weekend in the traditional sense. The rig works every day. The only change is the shift pattern. This lack of variety can wear a person down. The environment itself is confining. You cannot just go for a walk. Your entire world is a few acres of steel. You see the same faces every day. You eat in the same galley. You sleep in the same small cabin. There is little privacy. This can be stressful. Small disagreements with a colleague can become magnified. There is no escape. You have to learn to get along with people. Everyone on board understands this. There is an unwritten rule of professional courtesy. You respect other people as space and their need for quiet. Coping mechanisms are vital. Many rigs have a gym. Physical exercise is a great way to relieve stress. It is a healthy way to spend off-duty hours. Others read or watch movies. Most cabins have a small television. The rig has a library of movies and TV shows. These provide a simple escape. The internet connection is often used for video calls with family. Seeing a loved one's face can make a huge difference. It helps bridge the distance. The social life on the rig is also a key coping tool. Friendships are formed quickly in this environment. People work together, eat together, and live together. They rely on each other for their safety. This builds a strong sense of community. The crew becomes a kind of second family. In the galley or the recreation room, people talk. They share stories about home. They joke and laugh. This simple human connection is a powerful defense against the mental strain. The company also provides support. There is often a medic on board who is trained in mental health first aid. They can talk to workers who are struggling. They can provide confidential support. The company knows that a worker's mental state is a safety issue. A distracted worker is a danger to themselves and others. Life on a rig is not for everyone. It takes a certain kind of person to handle the isolation and the pressure. But for those who do, it can be a rewarding career. They learn resilience. They build strong bonds with their crewmates. They learn to manage their own minds in a place that challenges them every single day. Every rule on an oil rig is written in the memory of a past failure. The industry learns its most important lessons from its worst disasters. Each accident leads to new procedures and better technology. The goal is to ensure that the same mistake never happens again. One of the most significant events in the history of offshore safety was the Piper Alpha disaster. It happened on July 6, 1988, in the North Sea. The Piper Alpha was a production platform, not a drilling rig. It processed oil and gas from several underwater wells. On that night, a series of explosions and a massive fire destroyed the platform. 167 people lost their lives. It remains the deadliest disaster in the history of the offshore oil industry. The initial explosion was caused by a maintenance error. A critical safety valve had been removed from a pump for repair. The pump was not supposed to be used, but due to a communication breakdown between shifts, the night crew turned it on. Highly flammable gas condensate leaked out at high pressure. It quickly ignited, causing a huge explosion. This first blast destroyed the main control room. This meant no one could organize an emergency shutdown or an evacuation. The fire that followed was fed by gas from other platforms connected to Piper Alpha by pipelines. The automatic firefighting systems had been switched to manual control to protect divers working in the water. they were never activated. The platform was overwhelmed by fire. The crew had nowhere to go. Many were trapped in the accommodation block. The disaster exposed major flaws in the safety culture of the time. The investigation that followed, led by Lord Cullen, changed everything. The Cullen Report made over 100 recommendations. These recommendations reshaped offshore safety regulations. One of the most important changes was the introduction of the safety case system. Now, every rig and platform must submit a detailed document to the regulator. This document must prove that the facility is safe to operate. It has to identify all major hazards and show how the risks are being managed. Another key change was the separation of the accommodation block from the hazardous production areas. On Piper Alpha, they were too close. The fire spread to the living quarters quickly. Modern designs place a greater distance and better fire protection between these areas. The disaster also highlighted the importance of clear communication. The failure to hand over information about the removed safety valve was a direct cause of the first explosion. Today, handover procedures are extremely strict. Permit-to-work systems were made more robust. Any non-routine maintenance job now requires a formal permit. This ensures that everyone involved knows exactly what is happening. It prevents one team from accidentally creating a hazard for another. The legacy of Piper Alpha is a safer industry. The lessons were learned at a terrible cost. The memory of the 167 people who died is honored every day through the safety procedures that are now standard practice on every rig in the world. Modern safety is a proactive system. It is not just about reacting to accidents. It is about preventing them before they can happen. This system is built on a foundation of rules, procedures, and personal responsibility. It is a culture that every single person on the rig must participate in. At the core of this system is the Permit to Work, or PTW. A PTW is required for any job that is not a routine operation. This includes things like welding, electrical work, or entering a confined space. The permit is a formal document. It describes the job to be done. It identifies all the potential hazards. It lists the precautions that must be in place before work can begin. For example, a permit for welding would require fire watch personnel to be present. It would ensure that flammable materials are removed from the area. The permit must be signed by the person doing the work and by a supervisor. This process forces everyone to stop and think about the risks. It is a powerful tool for preventing accidents. Another key safety feature is the alarm system. The rig has different alarms for different emergencies. There is a general platform alarm. This signals that everyone should go to their muster station. There is a fire and gas alarm. This alerts the crew to a potential fire or a gas leak. Everyone is trained to recognize these alarms and to know exactly what to do when they hear them. Regular drills are held to practice emergency response. These drills are treated with absolute seriousness. An evacuation drill involves the crew mustering and preparing the lifeboats. Lifeboats on a modern rig are fully enclosed, self-propelled capsules. They are designed to launch away from the rig, even in rough seas. The Stop Work Authority is one of the most important principles of modern rig safety. This gives every single person on the rig, regardless of their job or rank, the authority and the obligation to stop any job they believe is unsafe. A galley hand can stop a crane operator if they see something dangerous. A junior roughneck can stop their supervisor. There is no punishment for using this authority. In fact, workers are praised for it. This empowers everyone to be a safety leader. It creates a culture where safety is a shared responsibility, not just the job of the manager. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is another visible sign of the safety culture. Everyone on the industrial areas of the rig must wear a hard hat, safety glasses, steel-toed boots, and flame-retardant coveralls. Gloves are required for most tasks. Specialized PPE, like a safety harness for working at height, is also used. This equipment is the last line of defense. The primary goal is to engineer out the hazards, but if something does go wrong, PPE can prevent a serious injury. This multi-layered approach to safety has made offshore work much safer than it was in the past. It combines robust engineering, strict procedures like the PTW, and a strong culture of personal responsibility. It is a system designed to protect the most valuable asset on the rig, its people. The goal is simple. Everyone goes home safe at the end of their rotation. The culture on a rig is built on small interactions. It is a community forged by shared work and shared risk. There is a unique blend of professional respect and informal kindness. This culture is not written down in any safety manual, but it is just as important for keeping the crew functioning and safe. Humor is a vital currency. It is a way to release tension in a high-stress environment. The jokes are often dry and understated. A roughneck comes in from a 12-hour shift in the wind and rain. He is soaked and cold. Someone in the boot room might say, "Looks like you had a nice, relaxing day at the office." It's a small moment of shared understanding. It acknowledges the hardship without complaining. Nicknames are common. They are often given based on a person's hometown or a funny incident. They are a sign of acceptance into the group. These small acts of communication build a sense of belonging. Kindness is also present, often in quiet, practical ways. A new worker is struggling to learn a task. An older, more experienced hand will come over. He won't make a big show of it. He will just quietly demonstrate the correct way to do it. "Try it like this," he might say. "It's a bit easier." This sharing of knowledge is constant. It is how skills are passed down. It is how the team gets stronger. In the galley, a cook might notice a worker seems down. They might put an extra piece of pie on their tray. They won't say anything. It is a silent gesture of support, a small act of care in a place that can feel very impersonal. Rituals develop over time. Every rig has its own traditions. Saturday night might be steak night. This becomes a weekly event the whole crew looks forward to. It marks the passage of time in a place where every day can feel the same. There might be a poker game in the recreation room on a certain night, or a movie night. These are informal gatherings. They are a way for people from different departments to interact. A driller might play cards with a cook. An engineer might watch a movie with a painter. This breaks down the formal hierarchy. It builds relationships across the entire crew. Respect for the machinery is also part of the culture. Workers understand the power they are dealing with. They treat the equipment with care. They know their lives depend on it functioning correctly. A good mechanic is a highly respected person on the rig. They are the ones who can listen to an engine and know something is wrong. They have a deep, practical knowledge that everyone relies on. This culture is a survival mechanism. The humor, the kindness, the rituals, the respect. These are the things that hold the community together. They make life in a harsh and isolated environment manageable. They turn a group of individuals into a true crew. They ensure that people look out for one another. And in a place of such high risk, looking out for each other is the most important job of all. The world of offshore energy is changing. The industry is pushing into new frontiers. It is also adapting to a world that wants cleaner energy. This means new technologies and new challenges for the people who work on the rigs. One of the biggest frontiers is the Arctic. There are vast, untapped oil and gas reserves under the Arctic Ocean, but operating here is incredibly difficult. The cold is extreme. Temperatures can drop to -40 degrees Celsius. Steel can become brittle. Machinery needs to be specially designed to work in these conditions. Sea ice is another huge challenge. A rig must be able to withstand the force of moving icebergs. Some new designs are built to disconnect from the well and move out of the way of a large iceberg. The isolation is also more extreme. The nearest support base can be much farther away. The weather is even more unpredictable. Working in the Arctic requires a new level of engineering and safety. Automation is another major trend. More and more tasks on the rig are being automated. Robotic systems are being used on the drill floor to handle the heavy drill pipes. This reduces the number of people who have to work in the most dangerous area of the rig. It is a major safety improvement. It also changes the nature of the work. The roughneck of the future might be a robotics technician. They will operate and maintain these complex machines from a safe control room. The skills required are changing. There is a greater need for people with technical and computer skills. Data analytics is also becoming more important. Rigs are covered in thousands of sensors. These sensors monitor everything from the pressure in the well to the vibration of a pump. All this data is analyzed in real time. It can be used to predict when a piece of equipment might fail. This allows for maintenance to be done before a breakdown occurs. It makes the operation safer and more efficient. The industry is also involved in the transition to renewable energy. The skills and technology used in offshore oil and gas are very transferable to offshore wind. The massive offshore wind turbines need to be installed in the seabed. This requires vessels and expertise very similar to what is used for oil platforms. Many of the same companies and workers are now involved in both sectors. They are using their knowledge of working in the harsh marine environment to build the energy systems of the future. This is a slow and complex transition. Oil and gas will still be needed for many years, but the direction of change is clear. The industry is becoming more technologically advanced. It is moving into more challenging environments, and it is beginning to play a role in a lower carbon energy system. The oil rig of the future may look very different from the one of today, but it will still require skilled and dedicated people to run it. The journey to an oil rig is a journey to another reality. It is a place of immense scale and minute detail. It is a world of incredible power, both human and mechanical. We have seen the steel structure standing against the sea. We have walked the decks and heard the constant hum of its heart. We have understood that this is more than just a workplace. It is a home, a community, and a fortress of human ingenuity against the elements. We began our story in the galley, with a freezer holding 40,000 pounds of food. This single fact opened a door into this world. It showed us that survival here is not an accident. It is planned. It is managed. It is the result of relentless preparation. The cook, planning menus for a month at a time, is a logistician. The night baker, making bread while the rig sleeps, is a guardian of morale. The galley is not just a kitchen. It is the engine room of the human spirit on board. It is where a crew is built, one hot meal at a time. We saw how this single function, feeding the crew, is connected to everything else. The food is useless without the engineering core. The generators must power the freezers. The desalination plant must provide fresh water for cooking. The whole rig is an interconnected system. A failure in one part affects all the others. We have seen the people who make this system work. We have seen the driller on the floor and the OIM in command. We have seen the mechanic with grease on his hands and the medic ready for any emergency. Each person, with their specific role and training, is a vital part of the whole. They live by a strict code of safety, a code written in the hard lessons of the past. The Piper Alpha disaster taught the industry to be humble. It taught that communication, procedure, and a culture of vigilance are the only true defenses against catastrophe. Stop work authority is not just a rule. It is a promise that every person as a voice matters when it comes to safety. Living on this steel island is not easy. The isolation is real. The monotony is a challenge. But we also saw the strength of the community that forms in this environment, the shared humor, the quiet acts of kindness, the rituals that create a sense of normalcy so far from shore. This is the human element that cannot be engineered. It is the software that runs on the hardware of the rig. The future will bring change. Automation will make the work safer. New frontiers in the Arctic will test the limits of technology. The transition to new forms of energy will change the very purpose of these offshore structures. But whatever the future holds, it will still require people. It will still require crews who can live and work together in a confined and dangerous place. They will still need to be fed. The galley will still be the heart of the rig. The work done on these platforms powers our world. It is a difficult and dangerous job, performed by skilled professionals. They accept the risks and the sacrifices. They deserve our respect for the work they do. If this taught you something real, subscribe so the next story finds you. YouTube queued up a good follow-up. See how these rules hold up elsewhere.